My name is Quint Dunaway. I am a huge movie fan, so I decided it would be a great idea and very self-indulgent idea to ring in the new year by doing something unconventional. And by that I mean some people, you would usually rank their films just the top 10. Or the top 10 best, the top 10 worst. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about every movie I saw this year. Now this list is ranked simply on my least favorites to my favorites, not necessarily the worst to the best. One more thing before we get going, there's one more rule I just neglected to mention for some reason. All of these films on this list were seen by me in a movie theater. So that means no streaming movies are on this list. Now that's not to discredit the films that were released on streaming this year. There were a lot of good ones. That said, this is the best way I can think of to support movie theaters during the rough 2 years they have had. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. It is entirely a subjective thing, and I just hope you have fun with the video. Like it or not, here it comes. Coming in at the bottom of the list at number 40, it's Dear Evan Hansen. I don't want to believe they set out to make a movie like this. I believe it's just a very misguided movie. The acting and the songs in this film are way better than I think the film deserves, but just the way they handle the subject matters that the film talks about, it just comes off as cruel, almost, in a way. And add that to the fact that Evan Hansen as a character is just a despicable, heinous person that just should not be the hero of any film ever. Just avoid this film like a plague. Just a piece of junk mail. Number 39 is The Little Things. Now this was actually the first movie I saw of this year. And funny enough, it was the lowest ranked movie of the entire year until the last one you just saw. But for a movie, it's perfect. It's a perfectly disposable crime movie. Like, I think, the performances are fine in it. It's just completely generic, and I just couldn't get into it that well. And the ending is just, oh my God, completely waste your time. And I just couldn't look past that, and I hated this. Number 38 is Wrath of Man. Now, I would say this is kind of a frustrating movie for me, because honestly, the first hour of it, I was really into. But for some reason, around the hour mark, they completely shift directions as to what the film's about, and it just becomes the most generic, boring heist movie I have ever seen in my life. And it just kind of ruins what I was really into. I thought that all the stuff with Jason Statham's character was really intriguing and investing, but the rest of the movie just disposable for me. Number 37 is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Now, I'm not really a big G.I. Joe fan and whatnot, but this film just was not for me. Henry Golding as Snake Eyes, I think, delivers a good performance, but Snake Eyes as a character, absolutely despicable. Everything he does, this is not a good main character. Add that to the fact that the action scenes of the film just aren't that interesting or engaging or memorable. This is not the best way to bring G.I. Joe back into the limelight of Hollywood. Number 36 is Tom and Jerry. Now, I think Tom and Jerry it's a fun cartoon as it is, but the movie itself, it could be better. Now, I think the Tom and Jerry stuff in this film is great. I think they get the slapstick down, just the humor of those two characters. It's very well done, in my opinion. But the actual film around the antics of Tom and Jerry, kind of forgettable in my opinion. I think it's a perfectly fine, average film for kids, but as for Tom and Jerry fans, I just don't think it's something you'll enjoy. Number 35 is Spiral from the Book of Saw. When I first heard Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson were going to be in a Saw movie, I was very intrigued. I was thinking, this is going to be what gets me into these Saw movies, and it just wasn't that. I was hoping Chris Rock's performance would be something unique, a la something like Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems, but it just wasn't that. Add that to the fact that the Saw movies in general just seem like gore for the sake of gore. It's just boring to me. Number 34 is The Protege. Now, I was so shocked that they had Samuel L. Jackson with his lightsaber fight Michael Keaton with his batarangs. I thought that was such a cool... I'm just kidding, that doesn't happen in this movie. I would know, as I'm the only one that actually went to a theater and saw it this year. Jokes aside, this is a relatively fine action movie. I think Maggie Q delivers a really solid action performance here, but the dialogue in the film, it's It's just really bad, like abhorrentously bad. I say big words to make me seem smart. Number 33 is Halloween Kills. I was really disappointed in this one. Personally, I really enjoyed 2018's Halloween. I thought it was a great slasher movie with some good scares, and Jamie Lee Curtis was great. This film takes all of that away, even Jamie Lee Curtis. The characters in this film are just morons at times, and it's just, and as cool as it is seeing Michael Myers go John Wick on a bunch of people, this just was not the film I was expecting or enjoyed very much. Number 32 is Red Notice. Now I know what you're thinking, but Quint, that was a Netflix movie. It is, but some Netflix movies this year, as you'll see later on in this list, also released in theaters. So I'm going to count it for the list as I saw it at theaters. This film is a film that I feel was made solely by the cast that was in it. They had the cast in mind before they had the characters in mind. They said, we're going to get a movie with Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot, and we're going to make a movie with it. It'll work. And it just didn't work for me. The characters just don't seem that funny, and they don't bounce off well with one another. And it's just not a movie I remember very well. Number 31, it's Space Jam: A New Legacy. For what it's worth, this is exactly what I expected. A bad, dumb commercial. But I think there are some merits here. I think the 2D animation, seeing that again in theaters, it's just always a plus for me. And add that to the fact that there are a few jokes in this film that genuinely made me laugh. Makes this not the worst movie of the year for me, but just not something that's particularly good either. Because I'll be honest, Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner living in the Mad Max world, brilliant. I think that's hilarious. Number 30 is Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. Now, I'm actually a big fan of Resident Evil, but this film hits like the same highs as the games, but also just the lows of filmmaking in general. I think as the highs go, it hits a lot of great atmospheric moments that just feel reminiscent of the games, but as the characters go in the film, it's just kind of lacks for me. Like, Leon Kennedy and Albert Wesker just are not the same character as they are in the games by a long shot. And it's just not the faithful adaptation I think us fans wanted from a film like this. Number 29 is The Matrix Resurrections. Now, before this film came out, I actually watched the entire Matrix trilogy for the first time, and I was relatively unimpressed. I think the first two films have a lot good going for them. I think the action's great and whatnot, but the third film is just dreadful for me to watch. I hated every second of it. This film, I feel, is more in line with the first two films. It just has a lot good going for it, but I just don't think they go all in with what the Matrix can do. It just, all Neo does in this movie, action-wise, is just hold up his hands and do little force pushes. And it's just, like, I feel like with the technology we have today, this film should have been mind-blowing in what it does. Because that's what The Matrix in 1999 did. And it's just, this film didn't do that. Number 28 is Old. M. Night Shyamalan is back with yet another twisty film. And honestly, as far as horror films go this year, this one scared me the most. I think the execution of the concept of the beach that slowly ages people is done really well. But the characters on the beach just are written really weird and not that interesting. They're very weird characters that are hard to engage with. There's a whole, I'm not kidding when I say, there's a character named Mid-Size Sedan in this movie, and it's just silly to me. Number 27 is F9. Now, the Fast and the Furious franchise is one I'm pretty lukewarm on. I think it has a lot of cool ideas, but I'm not big on the characters. Now, that said, I think there are a lot of cool aspects to the film. I think the magnets that they utilized in the action scenes was really well done. It makes for a very interesting action scene that isn't just drive fast, eat. That was a mistake. And I also think John Cena was a great adversary to put against Vin Diesel. But I just think as a whole, these are films that you're either going to love them or hate them. But I kind of just am like, on him. He's got me on film saying, drive fast, eat it. Number 26 is Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Now, I wasn't that big on the Hitman's Bodyguard. I felt it took itself too seriously and just didn't let Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson be as funny as they could be together. But its sequel really remedies that for me. I think the addition of Selma Hayek with those two really makes the film funnier, and the addition of the fact that the film takes itself just a little less serious makes the film a little bit better in my eyes, and a lot more enjoyable. Number 25 is Mortal Kombat. Now, I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan, and personally, I was a big fan of the way they brought some of these characters to the big screen, specifically Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and especially Kano. I love that dumb bloke. He's Australian. I can also understand people's dislike of the film and how it's not really a Mortal Kombat movie since there's no Mortal Kombat in it, and it's just a series of fights with characters that you'll recognize, but it doesn't bug me just because I am such a big fan of these characters and the way they're portrayed. Number 24 is The Courier. Now, as I mentioned, this list is from my least favorite to my favorite, and if I had to rank these from worst to best, I feel like this would definitely be going higher. Just as a filmmaking, I think it's really well made. It tells a great story, a great real-life story, nonetheless, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job as this person. But I just don't really see myself rewatching this for fun as I would another spy movie that you'll see later on in this list. Number 23 is Army of the Dead. Now, much like Red Notice, this is another Netflix film that also played in theaters. Now, I'm a big fan of Dead Rising 2. This film just checks all of the boxes to make a perfect Dead Rising 2 movie to me. I think Dave Bautista is really good in this film, and I really enjoy Zack Snyder's sense of direction for a film like this. And Dave Bautista, if you're watching this, please unblock me. That'd be great. 22 is Clifford the Big Red Dog. We're going from zombies to Clifford. Crazy, I know. For what it's worth, I think this is a really just cute movie. That's all it needed to be. Just a cute, fun family movie that I think anyone could enjoy. I think Clifford's effects could be a little bit better, but I think the overall design looks good, and I think the actors in the film do a pretty solid job working off what is quite literally nothing. Number 21 is Candyman. Now, I really enjoyed the actual torment that the Candyman spirit or ghost, whatever it's called, causes towards our main characters. But I feel like it gets sidelined enough to become a slasher film at points, a very generic slasher film at that. And I just kind of didn't buy that too much. That said, I still really enjoyed what I enjoyed a lot. Number 20 is Cruella. Honestly, I'm not too big into Disney's, live action escapades and whatnot. I think most of them are fine, but this one I kind of enjoyed. I think Emma Stone was great as Cruella de Vil, and I just really enjoyed the story that went along with her character. And I just think the overall, the feel of the movie was really well done, and I just would like more of this opposed to generic remakes like The Lion King was. Number 19 is Jungle Cruise. I really enjoyed Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson as a comedic duo in this film. I think they brought a lot of good comedic chemistry and whatnot to the film, and just add that to the fact that it's just a cheesy film. Like, this film is just as cheesy as the ride it's based on, and I just think that's what adds to the authenticity of the film and just makes it fun to me. Number 18 is In the Heights. Now, my little sister London loves this movie, and I'm probably going to hear about it not being in the top 10, but we'll deal with that later. I'm not the biggest musical buff out there, but I have to say, the songs in the film are well produced and well performed. The dance sequences are all well choreographed. But I think what makes this film most for me is just the characters. I really enjoyed the characters and their struggles. Honestly, though, that could have carried a movie all on its own. The musical numbers are just a bonus, making this a very good movie. Number 17 is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. You know, a Marvel film had to hit this list eventually, right? The first Venom film I thought was okay, but I feel like this film just steps it up just a tiny bit more for my liking. The dynamic between Eddie and Venom is just phenomenal. I enjoy that, and Tom Hardy delivers a fantastic performance, as does Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage. It's a performance I've always wanted to see on screen, and I'm just very happy that happened. The only thing that would have made this better is if it got that R rating. It desperately needed it. Number 16 is Encanto, or Encanto, depending on your accent.
Roll the R, Quint.
Encanto. There's no R in
Thank you.
There's no R in Encanto. As far as Disney musicals go, I think this is definitely up there as one of the better ones. I think it just tells a really good story with a bunch of beautiful animation and some really solid musical numbers. It just makes this just a solid Disney animated film that really I think the whole family can enjoy. Number 15 is Eternals. Now, I have to say, as a Marvel fan, I was kind of polarized with this one because I'm like, I couldn't tell if I just think I loved it or I kind of was disappointed by it. But the more I think about it, the more I think of how unique of a Marvel film it can be at times, but at the same time it does suffer from the same Marvelisms as that kind of hurt other films. But at the end of the day, I just think it's a good film, just not a great one. Number 14 is The Kingsman. I'm a big fan of the Kingsman movie franchise, so I was really interested to see the origin of the Kingsman. Add that to the fact that it's a war movie too, which also I am a big fan of. I was stoked for this film, and delay after delay, the film definitely delivers. It can be a bit slow in the beginning, but by the end of it, I really dug the Kingsman flair that they add to this wartime epic. Number 13 is Dune. Now, this is a very polarizing movie, because again, as far as like well-made movies go, this is probably near the top. But it's only half a movie. I am very adamant about believing I need a full movie to get enjoyment out of. It being only half a movie lessens that for me. But that doesn't negate the fact that this is still a beautifully shot movie, a well-acted movie with just a lot of a great world that can be built on that I am very interested to see more of, that I'm sure I'm going to like this film more as we get more movies. Number 12 is Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, this is my kind of Disney film. It's an action movie, damn near, with a great lead character, with a great comedic character in Sisu the Dragon, played by Awkwafina. I just really enjoyed this film. There are times where I feel like the film would be better suited as a Disney Plus miniseries, so it could span out the world a bit, but I just really enjoyed this film and the world it sets up. Number 11 is Black Widow. Oh my god, I have this above Dune, I'm going to die. Personally, I really dug this movie. I love Marvel's ability to take one film genre and mix and match it with the superhero genre, and I feel like this does it great with the spy genre. Scarlett Johansson, just as amazing as Natasha Romanoff, as she has always been, but I understand the complaint that this film should have just come out just a wee bit sooner. Coming in at the start of the top 10 is Godzilla vs. Kong. What else is there to say about this movie? It's Godzilla vs. Kong in just a damn epic brawl that I got to witness on the big screen. Now, no offense if you watched it on HBO Max, but there's just a big difference there. Number 9 is Last Night in Soho. This is just an awesome, mind-boggling, intriguing mystery, thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it. It's just an awesome film by Edgar Wright with an amazing lead performance by Thompson McKenzie. It's just an awesome film. There's no other way to put it. Just go watch it. Especially in a world where there are not many original films. Everything is just remakes, reboots, sequels. It's nice to have something original, much like the next film on this list. Number 8 is Free Guy. Again, originality in Hollywood, am I right? Yeah, I can understand Ryan Reynolds is maybe doing the same Deadpool shtick he's been doing for a few years, but I don't care. I enjoy that. I think that's funny and fun. But at the same time, the world of Free City is just really cool and fun, and it works with the virtual idea really well. On the flip side of that, there's also a really investing real-life story about Free City that is just as investing as the video game stuff, which is surprising to me. Honestly, this might be the best Matrix movie released all year. Number 7 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Going back to what I was talking about, how Marvel can splice together one movie genre with the superhero genre, this does it excellently with the martial arts genre. The action in this film is top-notch. The characters and the actors are amazing. At the end of the day, I just think this is one of the best Marvel origin stories put to screen in a good while. Number 6 is Nobody. I was not expecting too much out of this film, but I got everything I would want out of an action film like this. Bob Odenkirk delivers an amazing lead performance in this film, all at the top of some amazing action, some surprisingly good comedy. On top of that, you have the scene stealer Christopher Lloyd in this film, who was just amazing. This is one of my all-time favorite action films ever. Number 5 is A Quiet Place Part 2. Coming 14 months after the original release, A Quiet Place 2 delivers on all fronts. Not only is it a sequel to one of my favorite horror movies, it just delivers more of what you love with a great performance by Emily Blunt, and as well as everyone in this film. It delivers on the horror and the scares and the tense feeling of these films. It's just amazing, man. Number 4 is No Time to Die. This is everything I would have wanted out of the final performance of Daniel Craig as James Bond. I mean, amazing characters, stellar emotion, phenomenal action sequences, the best possible way to cap off this era of James Bond. Number 3 is The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad. There's a difference. This is the epitome of improved sequels. Not only do you have James Gunn, of all directors, directing the hell out of this movie, you have an amazing cast full of amazing characters, amazing and unique characters too on top of it. It's just a fun movie that is just funny, it's emotional, it is everything I wanted the original Suicide Squad to be, but 10 times better. Number 2 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is thinking, but as a Ghostbusters fan, this is the perfect Ghostbusters sequel. It is the perfect legacy film I would want out of Ghostbusters, and a perfect send-off and dedication to the great Harold Ramis. Just a phenomenal film from beginning to end. Loved it. Number 1, it's SpiderMan No Way Home. I don't know what else to say about this film. It's a love letter to Spider-Man and Spider-Man's film history. Tom Holland is the best he has ever been as the webhead, and Zendaya rivals Emma Stone as the best Spider-Girl I've seen on screen. The returning villains all did amazing, and that's just what I'm getting at without even spoiling the film. There is so much to this film that just makes me as a Spider-Man fan happy, me as a comic book movie fan happy, and just me as a film fan happy. I don't care who you are. This is my favorite film of the year. So there it is. Those are all 40 films I saw in theaters in 2021, ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. As a film fan, there are plenty of things to be excited about in the months to come. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and please ring that bell to be notified when the next video drops.